Okay. First question. What was your favorite moment while filming Wake Up Dolores?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Wow. I think the moment that stands out as the most fun was at the end of the shoot. I can't give too much away, but there is a scene where there is blood. And it was the final scene we filmed for the entire project. And honestly, even some of the crew got covered in blood and it was just everywhere. Now, this sounds very like traumatic. It wasn't. Everybody was laughing. It was like Georgia, one of the actresses, had like fake blood under her contact lenses, so it looked crazy. And it was just the excitement and satisfaction of getting to see a job well done and really finishing it out. And when you film something and the final scene gets to be the final scene that you actually film, there's just something different about that. And
Mhm.
so it was so fun and exciting just to see the culmination. And it was just so messy that I think everybody felt like they could relax into that and really open up and feel all the exciting emotions that come with wrapping a shoot and just having such a good time on a shoot.
It's a good end to a chapter, like just
Yeah.
sealing the deal, like this is it. Let's party with blood, I guess.
Literally, yeah. And it wasn't like gory, gross necessarily, or at least that wasn't my perspective on it. It was just like, hey, we're here, we're getting to do what we love, we're covered, and we're finished and we get to just celebrate. And so we were like filming each other and doing little skits on our phones, just completely covered.
Or like doing little TikToks and stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so fun. I love that.
Yeah.
You're actually not the only person to have said that that's their favorite scene. Everyone else has said the same exact thing.
It was just that fun. It
Yeah.
was such a unique moment. Like I've worked in film for a while and I don't have anything quite like that in my memory in terms of just, everything being covered.
Right. That's so funny. Okay, second question. How did you approach and develop your character?
Ooh. Okay, so this is a prequel to Who Invited the Robots, which we shot back in 2022, came out over, I think, about a year and a half ago. And that film did really well, especially with international audiences. And so, because I was brought on board for that project,
Mhm.
I was able to step into the role a couple of years ago. And what was really nice about that experience was the Broken Spoke Film House, they're just so collaborative and they're just so inviting and kind, and they like to bring their talent in and let them play with the characters they've created. And so from the beginning, from Who Invited the Robots, I was able to do that. For Wake Up Dolores, they actually contacted me to do kind of script consulting for the script and for my character when we started pre-pro on Wake Up Dolores. And so being able to be in the process, shaping her, shaping this story, that was a huge help. I think of it kind of as there's a brick wall between me and any character I ever play. And sometimes the wall is to the ceiling, and I have to like tap on different bricks to see which one's loose to try to get like a hole to see through to like, dig my way to the character. And sometimes the wall is, two bricks high and you can just step over it.
Right.
And that's kind of how I think of it, because not every character uses the same approach for me specifically. But for Dolores, it was very exciting because I was in that process from from Who Invited the Robots into Wake Up Dolores and writing, I was holding her hand the entire time. And so it was very fulfilling as an artist, very
Mhm.
exciting as a creative, very just it was a vision coming to life when I was actually able to step on set because of all that pre-pro work. And so my process for her was actually pretty simple, just because all that work had been done over the course of months to years. And it was very satisfying.
Hmm. So when you were on set, like before filming a scene, like how did you drop in? Did you have any specific warm-ups you did or music you listened to?
Mhm. I like to go through and think a lot of character thoughts. So, for example, there's a drastic thing that happens to Dolores, and in that process, I have to really drop into that. But
Mhm.
working with a character that is an android, and she is developing her awareness and her interpersonal connection to herself and all of these different qualities that you and I have developed since childhood.
Mm-hmm.
But she's a full-grown adult, but in childhood. And so the process of dropping in for me looked like having thoughts that were very exploratory and very simple, but very complex. So, for example, what's what a thought like this? What's the worst thing that could happen to me based on my limited amount of knowledge about the world, right? Because when your world is this small, there's not a lot that can happen to you that rocks your world. So
Mm-hmm.
what is it within that little world that would be that? Thoughts like that, where it's very simple, but then you can run with that and take it, and it branches into a very complex and profound like stream of consciousness when you really dive into that. So that's kind of where I would go, as I would be on set or I'm driving to set and I'm going, okay, I've been in the process, like I just said, for months to years, but for this scene, for this moment, what are her thoughts? What is she processing? How far along is she in the in her journey of processing? Does she have complete understanding of this feeling that she is experiencing? And so those thoughts would really ground me in
Mm-hmm.
who she is and where she is. And then from there, it was a process of just, I'm a Meisner trained actor, so dropping into that and having all that prep done, having the point of view established, having my emotional preps established, just confronting the world around me and thinking through her eyes, thinking through her perspective. And it was really fun because everybody on set was so committed to the vision and to just the realism of the story that I really did feel like I could be in the moment and experiencing life through her eyes.
Wow. That was really well said. And I never even thought about it like that. Like, your character has like the mindset of a child practically. Like, she's never really experienced life. And
Hmm.
so, like, that narrows down your background and like the history of your character. And, and I love that you focus a lot on the subtext and the inner dialogue when you're prepping for a character. That's very, very cool. Um, I love that response. Wow. Okay. Next question. What connects you personally to Dolores?
Oh, hmm. Well, I will say that our logical processes are kind of similar, which is a weird thing to say, especially coming from the last question. Whoops. But I'm a very logical based thinker. Like I lead with logic and then emotions kind of secondhand. Like it's hanging out in the corner, just doing its thing. And then I decide to consult it or not.
Mm-hmm.
For Dolores, I feel like she has a similar process, but
Mm-hmm.
there are times, and especially in this story, where she's feeling emotion come up, or she's feeling confusion, or she's feeling these thoughts that she doesn't know what they are, or these emotions that she doesn't know what they are. And she's trying to lead with logic, but that only goes so far for her.
Mm-hmm.
That is where I felt a deep connection to her because in this life, right, we go through so much. And for me, again, I lead with logic, but there's some times where it's like, how do you deal with this thing that just happened to you? How do you process whether it's a great emotion like love or whether it's a traumatic experience? There's some point where the human mind, even if you lead with a more logarithmic, ABC perspective on things, you
Mm-hmm.
get overwhelmed. And there's a place where you just go, like what do I do? How do I handle this?
Right.
And I think she was similar. And you'll understand this more as you watch the story. But she leads with, okay, I can figure this out intellectually. How do I comprehend these things? And there's a point where she has to decide whether she's going to continue on that path or not. And that for me was really fun to bring to life, especially because I related to that in certain ways. And I don't know, I feel like it's always fun to bring to life something you understand.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, as an artist, it's a joy to step into shoes that you've never experienced, and that's as we stretch ourselves as artists, that's part of the craft.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But I think there's an element of satisfaction that you can glean whenever you are getting to bring something to the table that you jive with, for lack of a better word.
Right. I think it's really, you know, as an actor, it's really hard to connect to a character that isn't human, you know?
Mm,
And so it's a process, and I feel like it would be a longer process for me to like find ways that I connect to this character personally, like connect to this robot. It's not a living, breathing human, but you have to find the human within her. And
mm,
I think
mm,
I'm excited to see your take on that in your performance when this comes out. And you already look, the trailer was like insane. I was like, this looks so good, and everyone looks so good, and it's so well shot and edited, and I just I'm excited to see how you and the sisters, like Dolores, Megan, Ava, all how they all interact and uh all being, AI, these robots. Like it's gonna be so cool.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that.
Mhm.
I do know what you're saying in terms of relating to characters that aren't quite human,
Mhm.
or aren't quite not human.
Right.
But I find, at least for me, and I'm curious to hear your opinion on this, but it seems almost more of a intuitive process
Mm.
than a mental one for me when it comes to those types of characters. Because I think there's something in a lot of us as artists that understands not being the one that fits in, and
Right.
the
Mhm.
one who is in the kind of the black sheep, right?
Mhm.
And for me, it's a process of looking at it from that lens and going, I know what that feels like to not understand other people. I know what it feels like to be different in a lot of different ways. I know what it feels like to wonder if there's something different about me or off about me. All those ideas and conversations that come to the forefront of your mind if you've gone through anything that made you feel different. Um, that's not the only way I approach those types of characters, but I think that's a decent in, or like, a way to get a brick out and crawl through the hole to get to the other side of the character. Is going, okay, like there's something innately wild about me. There's something innately different about me, or there's something innately XYZ about me that I can understand, that I can relate to this person I'm stepping into. And that for me has worked a lot better and a lot faster than trying to take my human consciousness and go, okay, how as a human who fits in and blah, 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 do I relate to, a alien or a cyborg or all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I love that because it is a very universal feeling to feel like you don't fit in. Like there's something, especially like actors, well, not especially, but like for example, actors when they go and audition and then they don't get it, they're like, well, what did they not like about me? What's wrong with me? Like, I guess I'm never gonna make it, like, because I don't fit anything. But that's just not true, and I like that you can connect that with your character and just wanting to fit in and be quote unquote normal.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and even to put another layer on top of that, I love what you said. I think there's certain characters that don't even realize that they are different. And I'm speaking specifically in like the alien sci-fi world. They don't realize they're different, or they do and they don't care. And so there's like layers you can add to it where you go, okay, I understand what it means to be different, but what if are there times where I completely forgo that entirely? Yeah. So
Mhm.
what does that look like? And how does that, if I look like an alien or I look like an android, is that something I even care about? Because if it's not, I kind of know what that feels like too, and I can get in that way. So it's like layering, layers of a cake or of a tiramisu, right? It's like
Right.
you can know that you know that you don't know that you know, right?
Which is so, honestly, so relatable. Like, there's so many layers to a human, and like, you think you know someone, but they can be a completely different person. And like, there's just so many layers within being human that, like, can also be within being a robot, and like playing these characters that aren't technically, living, breathing beings. So I think that's so well said and so I never thought of it like that. I love that. I love your answer. That was so great.
For asking.
Okay, last question. What are you most excited for audiences to experience when they watch the film?
Ooh. So personally, I'm very excited to reveal Dolores's backstory because anybody who's seen Who Invited the Robots, I think is going to
Mhm.
be interested just in seeing like, okay, where did she come from? What did we cook up on that end? But I think this story poses certain questions about consciousness and AI and um, relationship to authority
Mhm.
that is pretty relevant right now. So I'm excited to see if that sparks conversation and what people take from it. And then obviously it is more of like a dark thriller. So I'm excited to see, if the scares are impactful or what people walk away from the
Oh,
thriller lovers out there if it
oh,
satisfies
yeah.
that itch or what that looks like.
I
So there's
bet
a
it
lot
will.
of perspectives.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited to see those jump scares. And I also love that you talked about like how this film there's like a sci-fi, this could never actually happen aspects, but then there's also like a wait, this is really relatable to everything that's going on. Like I see videos on social media and I'm like, was that AI or was that real? Like I can't
Yeah,
tell
no, it's
anymore.
happening.
Yeah. It's scary. So I also think that adds on another layer of it being a thriller. Like this is really scary and this is happening right now.
Mhm.
And we don't know what's gonna come next because things are changing all the time and advancing. So,
Yeah. Well, I think that there's an element to thrillers and horrors where truth, when told, is one of the scariest things that you can say. So when you're creating something like this, the fact that it is very relevant and even more so, I mean, we filmed it about a year and a half ago, but it's even more relevant today than it was when we filmed it. And the fact that there is truth there and there's a real conversation about what's happening right now to
mhm,
me and you and out in the world, I think that also adds that extra layer of, I don't want to call it fear, but just like the thriller aspect, but also the cognitive, the piece of it that makes you think.
mhm.
So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for answering these questions for us today, Juliet. It was wonderful getting to talk to you about Wake Up Dolores, and I'm really excited to see your performance when it comes out. Um, Make sure to follow Broken Spoke Filmhouse for more behind the scenes interviews and updates about the film. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Go watch the film.
Yes, go watch it.